sometimes we need that little reminder to be like, maybe now it's time to say, okay, I know what's not working. I know what I don't like. I know that I'm feeling this discomfort here. I know that I'm meant for more. And to be like, it's okay that I'm here. No problem. Now I'm ready to amplify what is possible. And know that in this sort of in-between period, it takes...
Hello, Omis. Welcome in. You're tapping in on a late night sesh right now. We've actually never recorded at night.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like we always have a plan to and we never do. But now this is like
it's a vibe.
a necessity.
This energy has kind of got the coating of a little bit of a different vibe.
Yeah. We're going into the darkness. No, we're not really. But we are going to be addressing a little bit of the discomfort that is on this path. So if you are tuning into this episode, let me give you a little lowdown of what to expect. I feel like we get a lot of questions around this in our Slack community and the Oasis. What the F do I do if I am in a misaligned career and I have this inner knowing that I am meant to be living a life of purpose and fulfillment, and maybe you're looking around at your career right now and you're like, this is not it. I am feeling misaligned. Because we have some really beautiful messages that we want to share with you about this sacred chapter of misalignment when it comes to your career. So we're not only going to allow you to kind of zoom up and see the higher perspective of what is really going on in this chapter of misalignment, you're going to feel like you have so much clarity to really look at what is around you when it comes to a misaligned career and kind of honor what it is that's in front of you. You're going to understand that on a deeper level. But also, we're going to drop into some personal stories and experiences of how you can create these things called bridge jobs. And you'll get into the details of how we created bridge jobs in our path and how they really are an important part of kind of transitioning over into a more aligned career. And I do feel like there is this common misconception when you're in a misaligned career, but you're seeing everyone online in their aligned careers and they're killing it and doing all these things. And you're like, damn, how do I go from there to there? And you're not really seeing the behind the scenes of what happens when a soul is venturing into the unknown and committing themselves to a path of soul alignment. There's these sacred phases of misalignment and bridge careers. And we're going to drop into all this today. So definitely sit back, relax, enjoy. And you'll definitely walk away from this episode feeling like, wow, okay, I'm not in the wrong place. And this is exactly how I'm going to take my first step. So let's start by just kind of widening the perspective and taking a little bit more of a bird's eye view so that you guys can understand, okay, I hear you, but what actually is the sacredness of the misalignment? And then we'll get into what you can do in those chapters. So do you want to share your perspective on a little bit of the zoom out, or do you want me to start?
I actually was thinking maybe this is where you're going to go, but you shared something earlier today that was such an easy but important pivot of instead of seeing what's happening right now as wrong, see it as a step. And I'd love for you to color that in a bit, but I think a big piece of this that if you can unlock a state of peace or acceptance or just being at least a few percentage points higher okay with exactly where you are, that is something that you get to carry with you throughout the whole journey, because it's inevitable that, like me and you have experienced very often, at every stage, there's a little bit of a tweak here and there. And there's a new revelation that comes through that's like, oh, this now feels more aligned.
Right.
And that really is opened up to a person when there's no longer this feeling of getting it wrong anyway.
Right.
So I'd love for you to explain more what that means of not having to see where you are right now as wrong or incorrect and see it as a step in your journey.
Yes. Okay. So I want to start with just this one piece of wisdom and teaching that will always stay with you for the rest of your life. there is never anything inherently wrong with where your 2 feet are because of these deeper truths of us always creating our reality. So when you remember this, you understand that you can use life as a mirror. And when you're in those chapters of misalignment, to say that something is wrong would be kind of looking at something and saying, I'm not going to like learn from this and I'm not going to pick up the data and the information that this is showing me. And I think back to those chapters in my life where I felt super misaligned. And it was this pure reflection of where I was forgetting my power, of where I was forgetting my gifts and maybe my purpose and just the consciousness that I truly was. And it manifested in misaligned intimate relationships, friendships, and careers. And at that moment, it did feel like it was wrong and not right, but it actually was perfect. Because how would we ever learn about the inner workings of who we are and where our limitations exist if we're not able to see them directly in our reality? So that's the first thing, that to understand life is always helping you. It's always guiding you to unlock new levels of freedom within yourself. So seeing the divinity of what's in front of you right now is just key. Like, I know if I ever were to find myself in a chapter of my life where I'm like, wow, this feels uncomfortable, I would allow myself to feel that, really honor the emotions that are coming forward, but know that that's there to give me more data about who I am internally and how I can really just evolve and shed. And what these misaligned chapters are really gifting us the opportunity to do is to teach us more about what we want by being in the presence of maybe what we don't want. And then also to teach us about who we are by being in the presence of something that highlights who we aren't. So, this first phase of understanding, okay, wow, I'm like seeing that I'm in a misaligned state, but where a lot of people get kind of stuck, and I guess it really isn't stuck because you'll always be in some sort of energy for the time that you need in order to kind of like have that shake up moment. And sometimes people need to go a little further than others, but this is why you guys are tuned into this episode, because when you have higher awareness, you can kind of like make the shift faster.
Yeah.
So when you're in those misaligned states, it's like when you're feeling an emotion, you want to like honor it and see it and accept it, but understand it wants to move.
Right.
And that is the same with the outer expression of these energies, which is just exactly what it is. It's a manifestation of the outer energies in our reality, in our career, in our relationship. And when you see that, you can accept it, but then you get to make a shift. And this is what we're talking about with the subtle perspective change, where you reclaim your power. And this subtle perspective change can only take place when you are stepping into your power and understanding that you are literally the center of your reality and it is all coming from within.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm seeing really what the pivot point is here, and it's to recognize that you can be involved in two different vortexes. There's the vortex of going from, you're not just noticing misalignment and being in this accepted state, you are in the misalignment to a degree that is very frustrating, that is very resistant of the current iteration of your reality, and is essentially what we would just simplify to terms of focusing on the negative, focusing on what you don't like, right? And that can turn into this vortex that is like self-feeding.
Yeah.
And that's where I think what's divine about you listening to this episode is maybe this will help you to kind of get that like shake up to jump out of that vortex, because it's totally natural, right? We have a lot of momentum in our life that builds up just by virtue of almost like the laws of nature, the laws of physics is like momentum gets built up behind things. And sometimes we need to apply a different energy, a different quote unquote force, if you will, just in terms of like the energetics of applying a movement to something to help pivot it. So you're listening to this because you're ready to extract yourself out of the vortex that is so in misalignment that it's all you see, and therefore it's feeding it in the sense of focusing your attention on what you don't want. Now, the other vortex that can be created is when you begin to put all of this life force energy, all of your power, your awareness, your energy, your actions into what you do want.
Mm.
And it sounds simple because we know this, the power of visioning, the power of visualization, the power of belief, right? But sometimes we need that little reminder to be like, hey, maybe now it's time to say, okay, I know what's not working. I know what I don't like. I know that I'm feeling this discomfort here. I know that I'm meant for more. And to be like, okay, got it. I understand this. It's okay that I'm here. No problem. Now I'm ready to amplify what is possible. And know that in this sort of in between period, it takes a little bit of conscious effort, sometimes a lot of conscious effort, to essentially get the new vortex built up. And in this choice point where you are saying, okay, now I'm going to be in the world of my vision and build this vortex up that is then going to build so much momentum that it becomes very natural to always be focusing on what you want to create. And in that in between, if it feels sticky, this is where you want to help the process of expanding your mind to new possibilities. And the way that I can explain this best is to imagine that what you are focusing on and where you are spending your time and your energy and your focus is kind of like having you plugged into a certain stream of information, even like your own stream of
Not
consciousness.
kinda.
No, 1,000%. Correct. You're right. Precisely. It is plugging you into a specific stream of reality, of your own consciousness, of ideas. So imagine then literally by changing what you are focusing on. And a really specific way to do this is, for example, if being in this new vortex of the possibility of your vision feels difficult, you want to use tools like, so simple, vision boarding. Literally finding expanders on social media or on YouTube or in the news of people who are doing something that starts to open your mind to, oh, wow, there is a different reality out there.
Or
I
join
really,
the portal.
yeah, or join a space where people are talking about their dreams so much and their
And
visions
it literally
living
becomes
it
normalized.
becomes
Yeah.
normalized. Yes.
Yeah. Biggest fucking expander.
Yes, truly. So the energy behind this is, for example, if you are wanting to leave your current role at a certain job and you want to make up your own ideal job, right? Let's say what we call a bridge job. Of you want to freelance, so you have your time back, you can choose how much you get paid, and you're like, I have all these skills. I feel like I could do something cool, but I don't know what that is. There are billions of tools out there for you to expand your mind, and I'm just going to plug one of the easiest ones. Would be, this is a very high consciousness use of something like an AI language model, like ChatGPT, for example, to take 5 minutes instead of, this is where you're shifting your focus, right? From instead of seeing what is wrong, say, okay, I'm ready to expand my mind into how I could start to live, and input all of your skills and gifts and quirks and curiosities and interests and ways that you prefer to work or whatever, and put them into ChatGPT and have it help you to see what is a job that I could make up for myself that would be aligned according to all of these things, this list of things. This is just one example, right? Or this might happen through a conversation with a friend where you say, hey, I have come to the realization that I know I'm not meant to stay in this job that I'm in. And I would really love to kind of vision and dream with you and maybe have you reflect back to me the things you think I'm good at, because this is where you are moving your consciousness out of the stream of what's not working and into the stream of your vision and what is possible, and
Right.
literally like growing your brain's capacity to vision greater.
Yeah. And it works because I'm remembering back to when I had this moment when I was at my corporate job where I decided that my visions that were coming alive, this was inevitable. And I had this perspective change. Like I went from being so just in the emotion, self-soothing, partying, drinking alcohol, benders, all-nighters, to being like, wow, okay, I actually want to take this seriously and feel into the potentials. And I remember it was this like subtle energetic shift where I just decided this is going to work. And I feel like where a lot of people can get stuck in that mindset of feeling so kind of like overwhelmed in the doubt and the fear, and I'm in this misaligned state, is when they're seeing people live out an extremely aligned reality where it feels like they did that overnight, when really there's like years of soul searching and testing things out and just taking those little tiny bridge jobs. And it is that path. Like I can think back to just my journey, your journey, even Sarah or meant like these are just all
Mhm.
people where like you hear their story and there was these years of just getting the freelancing job.
Right.
Not getting it, but like getting it the ball rolling with it.
Yes.
And for me, it was freaking learning how to do Facebook ads and then reaching out to an influencer and asking if I could run her Facebook ads.
Mm.
And I literally like doubled my salary by taking on this client. And then I'm telling you, you just open up to the world of possibility. And then you start living in alignment with that frequency of your gifts and what you
Mhm.
can offer it at this phase of your journey and your exploration. And I'll never forget, I was walking around a park in Brooklyn and I had just quit my job. And I think I told you this the other day, but my mom called me and was like, hey, one of her friends, she's like, oh, so and so, she has a friend that wants help with her social media for her business. And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like I had literally just quit my job. I need more
Yeah.
money. And I had that one client, and then I took on this other client, and it just like unraveled in a way where
Yes.
I couldn't have logically planned that, but it's these like bridge jobs that make it just feel like, wow, I'm shifting into a reality where this is actually possible. And I know you also have crazy stories of
Mhm.
getting your freelancing job of writing for what's his name?
Dr. G from Heal
Yes.
Thyself.
Yeah. Do you want
Mhm.
to share that? Because I feel like that's also an expander.
Yes, totally. I'll share that. And I also then want to add just something that we're explaining here, which is this part here is kind of the hardest. And so I really want to validate. And if you're listening to this, like to know that you are already doing amazing and you're doing such a good job and it's all
Yeah.
working out for you. And this right here can truly feel like the hardest part because it's that jump from one vortex to another when that one vortex has had so much momentum
Yeah.
built. Stopping that, again, literally just think about the laws of
And it's the
physics.
scariest.
It's scary. It's scary.
Yeah.
It literally takes energy to stop something that is so in motion. So
Yes.
just
Wow,
really
yeah.
honor that that is not easy. And that's why we look back and we're able to tell you like those moments of misalignment, you are also just building resilience.
Oh, I
You're
cried
building
so much.
Oh, dude. Oh, we could go on for days about the moments in the journey where we're
Yeah.
like, what in the F is going on?
I had my panic attack room at work. I was like, this is my room. I'm going to have my panic attacks here.
Yes, truly. It's very real.
It's
so
rough.
that's
It is
why
a
we're
initiation.
Yeah, that's why we're addressing this because those moments of misalignment, in the moment they can feel like everything is going wrong, like you don't know what you're doing, like it's not going to work out, and it's not true. It's not true. You are taking a very important step on your path. So real quick, I'll share my version of what Nikki was just alluding to, which is essentially one of my bridge jobs was totally birthed out of I think at the time that I got it, I was aware that I was going to be quitting my main full-time job. And I wanted to have something to kind of just keep me afloat. And also that was just a little bit more aligned than what I was doing.
Mm.
And it was also happened totally synchronistically where I saw on the creators, like the guy who I ended up working for, his story, he just posted that he was looking for a writer of some kind to handle his like emails and copy or something like that. And it was like, email your resume to this thing. And I was like, okay, let's see about that. And I remember sending them. And this was a moment where I was so grateful for the tiny actions I had been taking up until this point because I had started my personal brand and was sending newsletters just to my audience of like 50 people on my newsletter and writing these newsletters. I can't remember what they were about, but I wrote them and I would like promote my podcast episodes and just share things. And in my resume to him, I sent like the links to the emails that I wrote for myself, which were literally like, this was 4 years ago. I can't remember. It was many years ago when I was just starting out.
Yeah.
So those little moments of then I was like, wow, thank you, past self, for just starting this newsletter
Yes.
that I was writing to very few people, but was just a little aligned action. And then that was part of why he hired me, because he got to read
Right.
my writing and he was like, wow, I love the way you write.
Yeah.
I love the da da da. And I also had been starting to explore my intuitive and spiritual gifts. And so I was very good at like quote unquote channeling his voice, which is another
Mm.
reason why he hired me, was because he saw that I could essentially mimic his voice for him in his emails.
Wow.
Yeah. So the whole thing was insanely aligned. And the last thing I'll add is this was a guy that I really looked up to for a long time, but had been following him for years. And I, like one time I saw him in public or at a restaurant in LA, and at a table over with like so many cool LA people. And I was going to go say hi, but I got kind of nervous. And then I had this deep knowing that I was going to cross paths with him at a different time. And it was only a few months later that I applied for this writing thing.
Oh, you hadn't even known that that job was open when you
No.
saw. Wow.
And then,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
then
remember you
like, I
telling me
remember
this.
being on the phone with him interviewing for it and him being like, yeah, I would love to hire you. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. So the theme there is just trusting the little step, the thing that's working right now, that's even just 1% more aligned.
Yeah.
Right. And that opened me up to a next level. And then guess what? I did that job for, I think, a year or more. And then it became extremely out of alignment for me.
Right.
But it was
Yeah,
okay.
that was tough. Like that was a hard
That was another
phase
hard
when
thing.
it was out of alignment.
Yes. And I was,
We had just met and you were like,
yeah. And I was really feeling like then the writing job was starting to pull me away
right.
from the bigger vision. But
it also just like didn't make sense.
it didn't
anymore.
make sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. So again, it's like you make one aligned step. It's really neutral. It's just a part of the journey. But what's charged about it in the positive way is the vortex that it builds
Right.
around your vision and around what you believe is possible for you.
I want to draw attention to one thing that's really important in this, like the energetics of attracting that, just to highlight. Some of you guys may think like, okay, I'm just going to sit on my couch and wait for an aligned bridge opportunity to hit my inbox or something. But there's a very subtle energetic that's playing out with the way that you were building your personal brand on the side. And I was doing the same thing. I was building my like health coaching blog. I had just started my Instagram account. So these little actions that, not so little, these are like big moves that we were taking. It's like you get those intuitive nudges to lean into your curiosity, and that impacts your energetic frequency that you're sending out, because it's this authentic energy. So that when you are then thinking about the bridge job, there's like a bar you have set where the standard is raised of the kind of opportunity you're attracting because of the energy you're putting out. And that is like a very literal example of us writing and creating posts and sharing our work online on Instagram, on your podcast. I had my blog, and it is very interesting to think about that, because it's almost like you need to share your new frequency, and it doesn't have to be on Instagram or in a blog.
There's
or
so many different ways that could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Like lean into the things that your curiosity is going to almost just like expand your energy into, and know that it's not final. Like I went to health coaching school and got my health coaching certification, and I didn't understand that this path would just continuously unravel in a way where you get deeper into like your gifts and your mission and what really aligns with you. And I don't say that in like a career driven way. It can be, but it can also be like where you're living and what you're doing and just how you're being. It evolves over time. We are nowhere near the end of our evolution. Like I'm sure there's something we're doing now where we're going to grow and evolve into something like very different based off of where our soul is taking us. Like I can already feel that in-person events and things are going to play a big role in the expansion of Om. And you and I both know that. We can feel into that, but we're also just like so grounded and honoring the beauty that is in front of us with just how life is this continuous unfolding. And there was one other thing that I wanted to say, but it's kind of slipping my mind. So I'll pass it over to you if you want to add in, and I'll let it come to me again.
Yeah. Yeah. What's coming through for me is just really, it can be so simple. Like I'm visualizing you guys listening, and I'm seeing you just at a dinner party with your friends, and where maybe you would just only talk about how you're not liking your job. Challenge yourself to start to share with someone at the table what you are thinking of creating.
Right.
And or at a coffee shop, if you overhear someone talking about something interesting and it feels exciting to you, walk over and be like, "Hey, I heard you. Where did you find this?" Or you see them with a sticker on their laptop. Like, start to,
Like pick up the
yes, pick
signs.
up the signs, but also put your energy, this is what you're saying, put it out there in whatever way,
Right.
whether it's just a conversation with someone or talking to your
Yes,
sister.
yes, yeah.
What I'm saying is put it out, because that's where the
Plant the
universe and God
seeds.
is acting through the people around you, and is
Right.
acting also through any number of things around you. So exactly, plant the seeds, share it, get curious, ask someone that you look up to or that you think has a cool job, and DM them and be like, "Hey, I'm just starting out and I really love what you do. Would you be open to a 30-minute phone call for me to like, just get
Yes.
creative, get yourself out there in some way, through the energetics, through the aligned actions, through literally speaking it out. Get in groups where people are talking about this, because that is truly it. And that is how you pivot into the vortex that then is going to build enough momentum where the things drop in and
Yep.
your energy is putting out a signal that will be returned back to you."
Yep. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I feel like what we're diving into is just so those like subtle little things that actually are the beginning of the path that a lot of people don't get the awareness of because no one's really
Right.
sharing that,
Yeah,
right?
or
Like,
you think it doesn't matter. You think it's not
yeah,
gonna do anything. But
yeah,
we're here to tell you that these are the little things that actually make an astronomical difference in
right.
your life, your energy, your alignment. And this, we've been sharing a lot about this lately, that the alignment is the piece there, because that is what helps the universe do the heavy lifting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just takes those slight changes. And again, know that this is the hardest part sometimes, is just going from 0 to 1, going from that first little
Yeah,
shift and that first pivot when there's been so much momentum in a different direction. But this is it. Like, you can do it. It's really that simple. And you just keep showing up and you keep going. And then one day that vortex is completely self sustaining.
right. I also want to draw attention to anyone that's feeling like, oh, are you saying I have to quit my job? There is an infinite amount of potentials and realities of how you can unfold a different career path, how a different career path can unfold. And I definitely want to leave space for the people that are like, I actually love having my salary because
Yeah.
maybe where they're at right now, like that actually is the thing that is, I'm going to say it's the illusion that it's regulating your nervous system, but
For now.
I'll give you guys this one. um, but when you are, because I did this too, like I got my health coaching certification while I was still working my corporate job. I actually got my first freelancing client when I was still working my corporate job. And I felt like I kind of wanted to set myself up and then
Yeah.
quit. And I didn't have the spiritual understanding of like the trust and how the universe would take care of me. But now knowing what I know, if I would I would just say to anyone who's like, you know what, I want to stay at my corporate job. What I would say is like make space and time to feel into your soul and into your alignment and spend time on the weekends like
Yes.
doing that
Yes.
because that is where there's like almost there's like sacrifice. You have to really like sacrifice like a bit of the like I remember I stopped like spending my weekends in New York City staying out late and
Yeah.
sleeping in and then just like eating dinner and then going out again. Like
Hmm.
I started going to bookstores and going to parks and reading and learning and going on like these trips where I would go to these like conventions to learn about like Facebook ad marketing. And
Yeah.
there was this like sacrifice of just putting in the time outside of the 9 to 5 job while still attending my 9 to 5 job.
Mm.
And then for me, it did get to a point where I was like, okay, I'm making money with this client. Now, if I leave, I just need to like have trust that I'll get another client. And I did.
Yeah.
And I do want to leave space for that because there is like this perspective that, okay, I kind of want to set myself up, but do what feels best for you.
Yeah.
Because there's
Absolutely.
also, I want to expand out that there is the limitless potential of knowing that you are so held and so cared for. And if I would have quit my job, I probably would have just attracted the 2 clients right away anyway and would have been fine. So
Right.
like just feel into if a job is really draining you to a point where you don't even have time on the weekends to like tap into your
Mhm.
soul and live in that frequency because that's when you can like kind of play out like is this actually worth it?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. There's this really great saying that goes, "Your new life is going to cost you your old one." And at the end of the day, it's not like a cost, but what you're speaking to is a real thing of either making the space for the new thing to come through. And sometimes what that takes is either the quitting of the job or the moving it down to part time or the intentional effort away from, like you're saying, whatever you is your autopilot activity at night or on the weekends, to use that as your sole fulfillment time to nurture the vision and work on the thing that is building up the vortex of the life that you do want, of the alignment.
Mm.
And I did the same thing. I remember I had a point where I felt like I was literally working 24/7, but I felt so fired up because I would do my 9 to 5 and then I would take a little break for dinner or something and then I would work until like 11 p.m. on my podcast and I
Mhm.
loved it. I loved it because I was pouring energy into that vision and it honestly made me then feel like I was able to last longer in my corporate job to keep the quote unquote safety, but at the time it was what I knew was safety of that income. And that's all it is. It's either understanding where you need to make space for the new thing to come through, or where you just tinker with how you use your time, your energy, your efforts, your focus to start to build up the alignment and the vortex of the vision and what's possible.
Yes. This is such a powerful conversation because I feel like a lot of people ask questions in regards to this. And now you guys are just kind of like seeing the realness of just
Yeah.
what we went through in those beginning phases. And I do want to also just kind of bring a note to how powerful it is to lean into online spaces
Yeah.
because you're going to have these awakenings when you're in the midst of like being surrounded by people that may not be going through the same thing. Maybe you have like a buddy that's going through it, or you're seeing people online and it's just people that you're interacting with through Instagram. But this is really where my path took a turn
Yeah.
was when I
Same.
started to allocate my expenses differently. And I feel like this kind of
Mm.
connects in with just that it's not even a sacrifice because then you realize what actually matters in life is
Yes.
the inner alignment work, and you'll see one of the common threads to through a lot of people that are on this path of like revealing their purpose and living this life of just alignment that is out of the matrix is you put a new list of priorities of how you want to utilize your finances,
Yeah.
and whether it be through books, retreats, going on a trip to spend time with that friend that just like is an expander for
Right.
you, um, signing up for like a Gaia account that's freaking
Yeah,
$9 a month,
literally. Go to a
our
different class on
membership.
the weekend, like
Yeah. Yeah. The
yes.
Oasis, like, and this is how I feel about the portal too. It's like these are spaces where you literally energetically expand and you are getting out of that mindset of like, this is impossible. And
Yeah,
it's like you are around people that then are showing you a different reality where like I look back on those moments where I had this scary decision to like didn't even feel scary because in my heart I was like this is just fucking it. Like every time that
mm,
I've made those decisions to invest in something, there's been so many moments, whether it be like the program where I learned how to do the Facebook ads and like create my own business through that, the health coaching certification, signing on with mentors and coaches and group programs. Every single one was like this intuitive knowing. But I just want to highlight this because
yeah,
there is an essential part of the path where I'm not saying it has to be like a program
no,
online, but wherever you feel like there is a almost like you're prioritizing your expansion
yes, totally.
and you get to a point of just like taking that seriously in a new way.
Yes, 100%. It's life changing. I think I've shared this many, many, many episodes back at this point, so I'll share it in brief again. And one of the most pivotal memories and moments I had on my path was when I was part of an online fitness community that was also really about going after your dreams. This was Aubrey Winter's fitness community,
Oh,
Sweat
I didn't know it
Sessions.
had that like twist to it.
Yes, it was fucking incredible. Aubrey's whole thing, I mean, this is still so much of her thing, but especially in those days when it was all virtual, was it wasn't just working out, it was connecting in with your power and your potential and your confidence and like going after your big ass dreams was like the whole thing. So she would do these challenges that were like 3 weeks long and it was workout stuff, but there was also workshops in it. And I have this vivid memory of being on a workshop. This might have been in 2020, like early days of really starting to claim my vision for myself. And I remember being on this workshop where there was 100 people in the room, and she would have like moments where you could raise your hand to come off mute and either respond to a prompt or something. And I had this moment of, for the first time ever, to a group of 100 strangers, but like incredible women who were holding the vision. This is the key also what happens in these groups is they hold the vision for you.
Mm.
Is I declared, because at the time my vision was I wanted to be the next Joe Rogan. And
Shut up.
Yes, and I went off mute and I was tears streaming down my face, fully claiming my vision. And I shared to this group of 100 women how I had this like burning desire and like vision of, I was like, I want to be the next Joe Rogan. And I was so emotional and I was bawling my eyes out. But the fucking life-changing feeling of then having all these messages come in of people being like, I see this for you. You're going to do it. Yes, absolutely. And then having this woman, Aubrey Winters, who like with this powerhouse woman who was carving, like living her dreams and making them happen, then also be like, yes, you are going to be that. You are going to do it. And it was life-changing, so activating, just, oh my God. And then the connections, I had girls messaging me after being like, it was so powerful to hear you declaring what you want. Some of those girls were still friends and following me to this day. And it was just insane to just be exposed to that group of that place where it's not only is it possible, but people are literally holding the vision for you.
They
And we know
it.
that creates a legitimate change in your body. They call it like the limbic resonance. It's like when people are just applying loving acceptance, seeing you in your fullness, it affects your body, your mind, your soul. It really cannot be understated how important that is. And whether that's just happening through a friend and you admitting and saying, I have this dream and I want to say it out loud to you, or doing it in a group of people and feeling also the discomfort. Like I was crying and just uncomfortable because it was like finally unleashing my throat chakra to claim my vision.
Yep.
Wild.
Holy crap. I have like chills listening to that. I heard you tell me that story one other time, but I feel like now it just like hits differently.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, I feel like that's everything that I have to say. I can like go on and on about that part, but I just want to.
Yeah, I agree. This is just, if you're listening to this, you truly have been divinely guided to this conversation, to this podcast, to this world. And we just want you to know truly how perfectly on time you are. You have everything you need right now. You have all of the tools within you. There's also so much support all around you, whether it's just energetic, whether it's people you don't even realize. Like Nikki and I literally put conscious energy into sending everyone, like all the Omis all around the world, like us, the belief we have in you, like you are truly held. You are held.
Right.
And right now you're being invited to make this pivot to start to build the powerful energy vortex of your dream, of your vision, of the life of alignment that you know you are meant for, that is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're listening to this because it gets to be this simple. You get to make these shifts and hold yourself through it, and you absolutely can do this. Slay. Beautiful. Okay. I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I just have one more message. Find your people. Find your freaking people. Whether it's us, whether it's a group around the corner at a yoga studio near your house, find your people and take this message so freaking seriously, because this is a time in our insane collective awakening where when you find your people, you are held at a certain frequency. You are held at a different level of awareness and consciousness, and it impacts you on an energetic level. So if you feel yourself resonating with certain people from your community, certain people from, like I said, your yoga studio, like find your people and put yourself out there in new ways that feels uncomfortable, because the payback that you get from being surrounded by people who fucking see you and get you. And I really am not just saying this about the portal. Like I sincerely mean, find your people.
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
1,000%.
trust in your inner guidance and lean into where you're feeling called, because you'll look back. Like I just look back at these moments where I went to the event down the street and I sat next to someone that I ended up actually doing coaching work with. And then that led me to my mentor. And then it led me to subconscious heal. Like you literally can't make this shit up.
Yeah.
But it just happens. It just unravels. But you do have to lean in and listen to that intuitive calling. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this. Feel free to ask any questions about the portal. If you do have any questions, we'll leave the link below. We start May 7th, which is 4 weeks away. Whenever you're listening to this, it should be maybe sooner. But we are so freaking excited about this. This is going to be a transformative 6-month journey for the souls that are really looking to commit to their path of soul alignment and to go inward and to explore the inner frequencies of who they be, like on a deep soul level. And reality naturally just renders differently when you start to do this work. So we're calling in the souls that are desiring that quantum leap, that rendering of a dream reality. But when you're inside this container, it really is the deep soul alignment work that we're doing. So feel into if you resonate with our energy, if you resonate with our words. We already can feel the energy of the souls that are going to enter into this portal in the next few weeks. There are many souls that have already signed up. So we're feeling into this beautiful collective community of souls that are about to journey on this wild ride together. And I'm so freaking excited. So I just looked at the thing and it says 444. I've been seeing 444 everywhere. We love you guys so much. And thank you so much for tuning in. And hopefully we'll see you inside the portal and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Was it? Bye.